Welcome back, everyone. I'm Noah from Noah Enjoys Media, and this is the third installment of our World Cup preview series that I've titled Why Should I Care About These Teams? And today we're going to be focusing, as the title suggests, on the Welsh national team. So the Welsh national team is going to be coming out of Group Quadrant A for the European qualifying bracket. The other teams in there are going to be Italy and Northern Ireland, who are going to be playing against each other in the first semi-final game, and then Wales and Bosnia and Herzegovina that are going to be playing in that second semi-final game, and then the winners of those two will go on to the final, playing for one of the 4 European World Cup spots that are still available. Excuse me. So, kind of to give you a little bit of a reminder, synopsis of the format, if you haven't joined us before, there's going to be 4 World Cup spots available, 4 teams in each quadrant. That's going to be 16 teams fighting for those 4 spots. The international spots are going to be decided in a very similar format, but there's only 6 teams that are going to be vying for 2 spots, and so the 2 highest ranked teams have gotten a bye, so there's going to be a semi-final match that's going to be played, and that's going to lead into the final match that is going to go, or the final match, I guess, on each side of that bracket, and the winners of those games will be going to the World Cup. So, kind of bringing our focus back to this quadrant, we've already covered the Italy versus Northern Ireland matchup. Now, shifting our focus a little bit over to Wales, another UK team that got drawn into this pot, and the winner coming out of this quadrant will find themselves in Group B, which has a very, I guess, friendly group with their Group A pot A team being Canada, one of the host teams, and honestly a Canadian federation that is currently in disarray. Alphonso Davies just left their Bayern's last Champions League match in tears, so prayers up for his health, but it's something that Bayern really hasn't been able to count on for the last couple of seasons, and I know seeing Davies' journey, like he's really tried everything to stay healthy, but with Canada's flagsman and their captain being up in the air availability-wise, that is definitely something that's wide open. The Qatar national team as well as Switzerland are the other 2 teams in that group. They're the pot C and D, with this European spot taking up the pot B hole, I guess, within that bracket. And so this does provide a good opportunity for whoever makes it out of this group. More than likely, it's going to be Italy, honestly, and it should be Italy. But I think the team with the second best chance to make it out of this group is going to be the title nation of our video today, as you probably already saw in the title if you clicked on the video. Why do we care about Wales? This is going to be the Welsh national team. And so how did Wales get here? How did we get here? And for this, we're going to have to go back into the World Cup qualifying, where Wales got second in their group, and honestly, they pushed a little bit harder. They drew Belgium, Liechtenstein, Kazakhstan, and North Macedonia, and they took care of business against the teams that they were supposed to be in that group, right? They put 7 goals past North Macedonia in the last day. They ended up taking care of business. They beat Liechtenstein both times that they played them. They beat Kazakhstan both times that they played them, and then they beat North Macedonia both times that they played them. Their only hiccup, and the reason why they're here and not automatically going to the World Cup, is because they couldn't beat Belgium. They couldn't get any points off of Belgium, and Belgium really didn't slip up and give them any opportunity to have any leeway or have any wiggle room. And so Wales end up in the playoff. And honestly, it's not the most forgiving group that Wales could have been drawn into, but looking back at previous international tournaments, they didn't qualify for the Euros in 2024, so that's going to be 2 years on, but it's still recent enough where a lot of those players that were involved in that qualification process back in 2023 are still going to be most of the names that you're going to be seeing, and they really haven't been able to play up against better European opposition. They have been able to beat the teams around them in the world rankings. They've been able to beat the teams lower than them in the world rankings, but it's playing up that they've really struggled with. The lack of top-end talent we'll get to a little bit more, but since the retirement of Gareth Bale, they really are missing that star man, that, I guess, big game performer, and they're a generation that is removed from Gareth Bale's involvement within the team, and they're looking to build themselves back up. And this opportunity for them is something that they're trying to prove themselves, right? And that started with the Nations League group, and they won their Nations League group, obviously over something that is, you play teams that are around you. The goal of the Nations League is to play teams within your continent that are at about the same skill level that you are. This is used for Euro qualification playoffs, that is used for extra playoff spots within the World Cup. That's how Northern Ireland got here. But Wales also won their Nations League group, and they were in a Group B, which is going to be the second, I guess, highest echelon of teams, right? You have Group A that's going to have those top tier teams, and then Group B is around the periphery of that top A. And they went on and they led a group that featured a World Cup team in Turkey, right? They are in the World Cup, stop in, don't have to qualify. They did the job that they needed to. They also beat Iceland, who is notoriously a tough team to play against. They have proven that in international tournaments, and they are really trying to develop the game within Iceland, as well as Montenegro. And they didn't just win their group, they did not lose a game within that group, right? And so they can beat the teams that they are supposed to beat. They have enough talent to take care of the games that they are supposed to take care of, excuse me. And so now the question begins, and the intrigue of this team is that, can they win enough games to make it to the World Cup, right? Can they play up against Italy? Can they beat a team that is on the same, or I guess a similar level to them in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and something that they are really going through very similar things right now with Bosnia at the tail end of their golden generation. You could honestly probably argue that they're out of it, but with Edin Dzeko still leading the line of that team, I'm hesitant to say that they're fully out of it, but they're both teams that are kind of reloading, right? And it is up to Wales to prove that this new generation can win the big games. So it is, though, more of a squad than we have seen in the past. And they are kind of a younger squad that is beginning to hit their stride. They're beginning to hit their primes, I guess. You have a lot of young guys that, or I guess young-ish guys, right? They're in that 25 to 27 to 23 to 27 range. So they don't have a lot of like super young, fresh guys on the team, but they do have a mix of that and veteran defenders especially. But the key name that you're going to want to watch out for, and if they did have a talisman at this point, this would be the player to do so, and that man's name is Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson plays in the Premier League. He is a everyday player for a Fulham side who is comfortably within the Premier League. They are, I would say, a lower mid-table team, but he is someone that is a joy to watch with his ability to dribble the ball. He is someone who will play out on the wing when needed. He'll play through the center when needed. Depending on whatever formation this Welsh team decides to line up in, he could play some center mid, he could play some attacking mid, he could play out wide. He's someone that could really play anywhere, but more than likely, especially in this first match, we're going to see them go with a 4-2-3-1, and he's going to line up probably out on the right, if I had to guess, if I was a betting man, but there is a chance that he could start in the center of the park. And if they do go to a 3-back formation, which is possible, especially against Italy, as they have done it against bigger opponents in their big games, when they went to Belgium in a game that they needed to win, because they were within that 3 points of challenging Belgium, making it go to a goal differential, which I'm not sure that they had the advantage in, but making it closer than it already was. In that final game, they did go to a 3-5-2, and Harry Wilson was in the center of the park, so that's something that could happen. But this mix of, I guess, veteran and young players that are around him, someone you're going to see line up top a lot is another Premier League player in Brennan Johnson. He is currently, I believe still, after this transfer window, Crystal Palace's, I think Strand Larson may have broke it, but was at the time of his signing Crystal Palace's largest sum ever paid for a player. So he is a true Premier League player, bounced around a little bit between Nottingham Forest, between Tottenham, between Palace. He's a winger, but he is more of a wide forward. He is someone that's going to get on the end of crosses and he is going to finish them. He is a high work rate player and a fun player to watch, and a fun player to, I guess, put beside Harry Wilson, who is more of that creator, and they have a very good dynamic. And kind of around them, and potentially the former star Kiefer Moore, playing in the lower leagues of England now, but still a very physical presence within the box. Will probably feature off the bench, but is someone who could be involved. And then you have star winger Daniel James, who came through the Manchester United Academy, so another player who was at a top-level club for a time, and David Brooks, who is a stalwart in the Premier League with Bournemouth. So they have that talent in attacking areas, and those are, I guess, probably the starting players that you're going to see. It's gonna, if I had to guess, it's gonna be Johnson up top. You're gonna see Wilson on the right or in the center. Honestly, probably the 10, playing attacking midfield, and then Brooks and James on either side of him. And that's a team with a lot of pace. That's a team with a lot of top-level experience, even if they are younger players, right? Daniel James, only 24. Brendan Johnson, I believe, 26. David Brooks, 26. And so they are players with a lot of physical, intense, top-level experience, even if they're not the most experienced players in the game. And Liam Cullen is another one that could factor in, probably off the bench. It's going to be kind of behind that, just behind that, to be honest with you, in the center midfield, the center of the park, where you're going to see a little bit of that drop-off. The probably captain of this team, Joe Allen, who is most notable for his time at Stoke, but he's still kicking around the national team. He's going to feature in certain lineups, especially, I think, if you need to go out there and grind out a game. Joe Allen is someone who is very familiar with that and potentially will play in that. Jordan James is a youngster, and he featured in all 90 minutes in both games against Belgium, so I think he's probably a shoo-in for these important games. And then Ethan Ampadu, playing for Leeds, currently in the Premier League, next to his center back partner, potentially. Ethan Ampadu is a center defensive mid or a center back. He's going to be the guy who will fluctuate and who gives them that freedom to be able to play both ways. And his center back partner is Joe Rodon, who's just a big lad, but who's actually very good with his feet. Can play a little bit of right back if they do go into a 4 in the back. I don't know if he will, just because they need that cover in the center of the park, but he is another player with Premier League experience. Obviously, Ampadu and Rodon, two players that are currently at Leeds, currently in a high-pressure dogfight in the bottom of the table. I think that they will survive just because of the teams around them, but you've got some teams playing some very good football right now, so that's definitely up in the air. But these are players that are currently playing in high-level situations that this will just be another game to them, and are very technical players. And I think one thing about Ampadu that will be notable and something to keep an eye on, and a reason why you should invest in this team, is because he is one of the most lethal long throw-ins in the game. Rory Delap made it famous, but it's having its comeback now, and Ampadu is one of the players that is at the forefront of this revolution. His Throw-ins for leads are just causing problems, and a player that knows that better than most on the field is Joe Rodin. And so that a little bit of that chemistry, especially if Kiefer Moore, who is the 6'5" veteran striker on this team, if he is on the field, that's going to be something that teams are going to need to watch out for. This is a team that can be dangerous on set pieces. They have some bigger guys. I wouldn't say as large as the Northern Ireland team, so if they do happen to match up in the second game, that may be something that I don't know if Wales would have the advantage in that situation. But playing against a Bosnian side, that is something that they have the height to deal with Edin Dzeko in the box. They have the height to deal with Demirovic, who is their second striker in the box. And they have a little bit of flexibility to be able to move some pieces around, right? And kind of with Rodin and Ampadu, there is a lot of experience in that back line. Ben Davies, most famously, most well known for his time at Tottenham when they were not relegation fodder, when they were challenging for titles. He was a left back back then, but he's kind of moved into a more central role. Chris Metham, who was a guy at Bournemouth, he was a starter at Bournemouth, and David Roberts. They are players that are very experienced, right? Along that back line, that is really, you're going to get a lot of consistent stalwarts, but they are, outside of Rodin and Ampadu, more no-nonsense old-school center backs. David Roberts is probably going to be out on the right. I had to guess if Rodin is not, especially if they play a 3-5-2, that's probably going to be Roberts out on the outside right. Neco Williams is going to be out on the left. And so they have some players that have experience at the top level, right? This isn't a star-studded team, right? They don't have a lot of guys that are going to be starting for Real Madrid anymore. But they don't have anyone, to be honest with you, that will be starting for Real Madrid in this current side. But this is a side of top-level players. This is a side of experienced, high-stress situation players. And in this format, where it's win 2 games and you go to the World Cup, that's something that you really need. You need some players that are going to be able to go out and get you 2 wins. And yeah, so I think I actually believe in this squad. I think if there's going to be a team in this group that can upset Italy, this is the team to do it. I think one thing with Johnson, with Wilson, with Neco Williams, even on the left with Daniel James, this is a team that has counterattacking pace and has experience playing in that system, whether it's Brendan Johnson playing at Nottingham Forest under Nuno. That was their calling card, right? That is the way that they played the game, and that was really when Brendan Johnson was at his most successful. Whether it's Harry Wilson, who has played under Marco Silva, who's aimed to play a little bit more controlling, but has at times played in a counterattacking system, right? Has these leads defenders who will look to release players, has Daniel James, who is nothing but pace. It may lack a little bit in the creative side, but if you get him out in space, that is something that they are going to take advantage of. And this team has the ability to score goals. They won 7-0 against a solid North Macedonia side, and it was a game they needed to win to be able to challenge Belgium if they were to slip up. But actually, no, they were 5 points off, so not to challenge Belgium, but to keep North Macedonia out of this place, right? If North Macedonia would have won that game, they would be here right now, and Wales went out and beat them 7-0, and so they are not. So this is a team that I actually really believe in. I think their opponents are trending in the other direction. I think Bosnia and Herzegovina are still kind of finding their feet. They have some young talent going forwards, but I think they are going to really struggle to keep up with the pace of some of these Welsh players. And I think that the speed of thought is also something that's going to trouble this Bosnian team, because they can give up a lot of goals very quickly. They lost 7-0 in a game against Germany in the Nations League last year. They also did not qualify for the Euros because they could not beat teams that were around their level. And that is something that Wales has proven that they can do, is that they can go out and beat teams that are around their level. So in this first matchup, I feel very confident in taking this Welsh team. I think when they match up with Italy, if they match up with Italy, no disrespect to Northern Ireland, but if Northern Ireland gets here, it's going to be a hope and a prayer that beats Wales the same way that it beats Italy. Honestly, it's probably some Shea Charles magic and a free kick goal or a set piece goal of some sort, but yeah, I feel pretty confident in saying that Italy can move past Northern Ireland, and I feel almost as confident in saying that Wales can move past Bosnia and Herzegovina. And so watching these two teams match up, it's going to be the star power versus the squad, and I hesitate to not take Wales here, honestly, just knowing how Italy has crumbled in these big moments against teams that are around the level that Wales is. And I think that Wales is really solid. I just do worry about their midfield being overmatched by Italy. I think that their attacks are probably about the same level. A player like Scamacca has proven that he can score goals at a higher level than Wilson and Brennan Johnson, as really all three have had their struggles scoring goals in the Premier League at times, but Wilson is that creative force that I don't think Italy really has in that attacking third, and because Chiesa really is more of a create for himself kind of player, I think Wilson can create for himself and others, and so I don't really know if Italy has that kind of forward player, where I would say that Wales does in Wilson. And defensively, Italy obviously has the star power in that Italian defense, right? They do have the talent there. They do have the top level players. So it is something that is worrying, but I think that, as I mentioned in that video, it was the pace of Norway in that counter-attacking space, because they have to commit so many numbers forwards, that can kill them. And if there is a team that can kill you on the break in this quadrant, it is Wales, right? That's going to be what they have to hang their hat on in some of these bigger games. And if it is a 3-5-2 and you throw Kiefer Moore up there in the 75th minute in a close game, maybe it's a long throw-in that kills him. It's not something that has really gotten to Italy, I would say, as much as it has become as popularized in the Premier League as it is, but it is something that defenses are going to work on, but it is something that you need to communicate to defend. And in a national team tournament, right, that's something that little bit of chaos that might kill them. And if all Wales needs is a moment or two of chaos, a bad turnover from an Italian team somewhere, and they can, boom, attack on that break, that is why you should care about this team. Because I think that they have the best chance to be the spoiler for Italy's World Cup dream out of this quadrant. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining for the third installment of this series. As I said, it's more of something that is a little bit of a passion project, a little bit for friends and family that are getting into the sport, that are going to watch it for the first time in 4 years and ask, where's Gareth Bale, right? Which is awesome, because he's going to be covering it and he'll probably be around, but there are so many more players to fall in love with, not just on this Welsh team, but throughout the entire tournament. So watch soccer. Qualifiers are coming up soon at the end of March, so I'm going to start trying to get these videos out in a little bit quicker of succession. But yeah, thank you. Have a good day. Bye.